Hello and welcome to the first episode of Addicted, the new Charlton podcast where we're going to look at the last week that's gone, the games that are coming up, and it's hosted by me, Sam Wyatt, the host of the Charlton All-Time Fantasy 11 Club. Can't even get the name of my own show right. And the king of Charlton YouTube, Mr. Tyler Rowlinson. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very kind of you, and good to see a video going up on my channel for God knows how long. But yeah,
well, this is what I was going to say. Like the idea of the show, we're not going to be too clever on the stats. We might not be the most informed people, but the main reason I've done this is just to get you out of retirement. Where have you been? That's what everyone wants to know. Right? Where have you been? 11 months, mate. What have you been doing? How's it been that long?
I know it's been close to a year now. It's just I think I explained it when I'd done a video before I actually retired, and it was just other commitments got in the way. But there was always when things were kicking on, when Charlton was starting to ascend back up and we eventually got promoted, I was sitting there thinking I've got to come back surely. I just never got around to doing it, never got the time, work commitments, life sort of took over sort of thing. But now I'm a bit freed up to actually go to Charlton games again. I thought now's a better time than ever to get back into it, and here we are with this new show, which I'm really excited to kick off with.
Oh, 100%, mate. Yeah, I'm sitting here as a 37-year-old dad looking at you and 22, 23-year-old with his new cool job in F1 going, yeah, I don't know. How is he going to get the time? How's he going to do it? It's unbelievable. All this stuff going on. I mean, we were just saying just off camera before. I mean, you've had a hard day, 7 o'clock till 3 o'clock. It's a long day. It's not quite as long as getting woken up by your kid at 5 o'clock in the morning and not really finishing work till 7 o'clock at night, and then I've got to do dinner in the dishwasher, mate. But no, I've got loads of sympathy for you, mate. No problem at all. But how have you been? It's been a long time. Obviously, there's a lot of us in your subscriber list that have been wondering what's been going on. What have you been up to? How's it been going?
Yeah, it's been good. As I said, just cracking on really with this job that I've got. Obviously, working in Formula One and MotoGP as well. I suppose I've got it fairly easy. Working from home, you're quite nice to me then in terms of how I've got it. But it's a lot more. It's a lot more easier than I've actually got it. But it's been good. Had the privilege of covering some really good stuff on F1 at the moment. We're in a bit of a difficult patch at the moment, but it's going quite well. But I think the thing out of all of it really with this work commitment is that it's sort of the difficult thing is it just takes over, isn't it? And it's sort of Charlton becomes a second priority, which was horrible for me, having to put this YouTube channel on the back burner and focus on other things. But now, as I say, I've thankfully changed work hours now. I've got my season ticket back at Charlton. I'm starting to get back into it again because I just lost all sort of motivation when it came to this club back under, the Appleton days and all that stuff, which we did long in the past now, thank Christ. But yeah, I'm glad to be getting back into it now. Things are going well and I'm really enjoying it. And looking forward to get back into the swing of things.
Nice. I mean, I've seen some emotional stuff go up on your Instagram over the last couple of days about Lewis Hamilton's putt, mate. That was sad. It's sad, not quite as emotional as getting relegated to League One, but it all really kicks you in the dick, doesn't it? It's not going to be a kids show. Let's get that out there early. This isn't. But what I was going to say was, kind of. So I did one series of the Charlton Fantasy 11 Club and absolutely loved doing it. But I kind of started that out of the dross that was going on the pitch. I was like, Jesus Christ, we're under Appleton, we're getting relegated to League One again. It's the longest time. We've got to do something. So that kind of lifted it. Whereas yours yours was on the ascendancy when we were doing well. And that was kind of when I started watching the channel was when we were last in the Championship. And I think that's a good place to start, actually, because obviously we're going to look at the game. Like that was the main. Me and Tyler had big plans. This was all going to be recorded live. This was going to be. We had a location sorted out, but we couldn't get quite all the gear sorted out in time. So hopefully, going forward, we'll be bringing this to you from a live location. So do bear with us on the graphics and on the. We haven't got a cool little intro video or anything like that. We've got the logo, which I spent 3 minutes on ChatGPT about.
It is good. It is good, though.
Thanks, mate. Let's have another look at that. There we go. Gosh, there we go. Lovely stuff. But we couldn't leave it. I mean, we're playing Derby. We're recording this at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. We're about to play Derby. We couldn't start off without not talking about that game at the weekend. I mean, We were both there. We had had some fun in the Oak after the game. Met up there, first time we've actually met in person. Don't want to say. I mean, we don't need to talk too much about that, do we? But,
we had a good time. Let's put it that way. We had a good time.
Let's say we had a few. I mean, one of us might have embarrassed themselves. I'm not going to say who it was. Let's not talk about that. That's not the important thing. It's cool being in the Oak with you, though, mate. It's like being out a little celebrity. I couldn't get 5 minutes of your time. Everyone's coming up to you. It's brilliant.
I find myself in there a lot more often now on match days. I never really used to, but now I'd think, no, what have I been missing out on? You know, I mean, it sounds stupid not going to the Oak being a Charlton fan before games, but I mean, it was just never really in my sort of, you know, plan, because I usually go to games on my own when I was at uni, and that's how I did it. But now, you know, it's great. So I mean, it is just, Charlton's just a family club, isn't it? You know, you just love going in the pub, and you always bump into someone in there that you know of, and you know, and good to see familiar faces now. But yeah, it was nice catching up with you for the first time in person, and we had a great time on the old darts and the Morettis and Cruz Campos and everything.
Do you want to mention who won the darts for us against Josh and Nick?
Yeah, it was you. Josh and Nick weren't particularly. They weren't particularly happy about it either. No, but that shot on the double 16 was beautiful, I must say.
I was absolutely hammered, and you're right, because I've had my experience at Charlton for such a long time was I go along with my dad. My dad and my brother. It's all very wholesome. We used to go to Bartram's bar beforehand occasionally, but it was all very wholesome because it was up until I was about 17, 18. Yeah. And then that was after I finished uni, was the time when we sort of went on the massive decline, and I never really went to games as regularly. But this whole kind of since I've started going back since maybe 18, 19, I've sort of been going to the pubs and stuff like that, like going to the Bugle before, going to the Oak afterwards. And you get wrapped up in this new world. Like Sandgard turns up in the Oak, and like you see X players. I went to the Peltham Arms afterwards, solo as well. I won't be embarrassed about it, because those of you Charlton fans that know the Peltham Arms will know how quality that is on a Saturday night when they get live music on. Curtis Fleming popped up, and I was like, You're right, mate. It's brilliant. It's just so I couldn't go home though after that game on Saturday, 3-0. We beat Blackburn, and I just couldn't. I couldn't go home. I was just like, I need to. Can you? And Charlie said this on his channel on Brazilians, his channel, great channel. Go and check it out. But he was saying to the fans then, I can't remember a better game than that. Not a more well-rounded performance. I just can't think of one. Can you, in terms of maybe even going up under Bowyer? I can't remember a game where we were that in control. Like, we didn't even beat Cray Wanderers without letting a goal in. Do you know what I mean?
I can't even. I'm actually struggling to remember how long ago that's been, because we were in control the whole game. Really, you know, Blackburn did not have a sniff at all the whole game. I was saying on the Chronicles last night. It's just ridiculous, you know, and it's sort of like resembles like how far we've come as a club, you know, because as I said, we're talking earlier about that, how the dross that we've been in the past few years and how much it's dramatically improved under Jones, you know. And I think you're right, even under Bowyer, you know, we weren't really. I mean, that team was brilliant. That went up, you know. We got to remember that. But
well, I was going to say, sorry to cut you off quickly, but let's have a quick look at it, because I did bring it up. This is when we last played Blackburn. This is the season. This is the first game in the Championship season. I mean, you look at it. Well, my question to you was going to be, who out of that team would you replace with, or who out of that team would you put in our team that played on Saturday? But I mean,
oh wow,
like this is after the playoffs, and what I think people forget is that playoff team was brilliant. You know, Aribo, Cullen, who else? We had so many good players that got nicked off of us, basically. Yeah. And then this is what we ended up with in the first game of the Championship. I mean, there's some good names in there, but when you look at what some of them have gone on to do and where they are in their careers now, is there anyone there that you replace with any of the team on Saturday? Is there anyone you want from that team in the one we played against Blackburn?
To be honest, not really. I mean, Dyke still was a personal favourite of mine, but you know, I mean, I could perhaps make a case for him to get in the team. But then again, but that's the thing, you know. Breeze, but then again, Breeze only played 2 games for us. You know, Dyke still was a product of the academy, so that's the argument I can make. But I think just looking at this team here, it shows how, you know, the standard of football in the Championship has changed. Because you look at the players that are in that team. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some great names in that team. I mean, we talk about Lyle Taylor, but we have to admit he was a very good player coming up for us back then. You know, Dyke still actually got sold after this game. I remember we sold him to Middlesbrough. This was the only game he played for us in the Championship. And then you had Phillips was probably the best keeper in the league that season from memory. Lockyer was decent. Piercy was probably nearing the end of his career. Pratley was the enforcer as ever. Lapsley was just breaking through. Williams had a great start to that season, but again, sort of faded. Like most of those players, like, you know, they really sort of struggled to kick on after this season, you know. But it was, I'm not discrediting the team. It was it was a very thin bone team. I think if we look at the bench of that side, I don't actually think we filled a bench for this game either. The squad was very thin boned because we was under douchebag, weren't we? But yeah, I think it shows how high the standard has changed, because that team, I mean, looking at that team on paper, I mean, looking back at it now, it's probably not the greatest, but back then that was a solid team, you know, and it got us to win that day as well. But yeah, the standard has changed a lot now, and thankfully we've got, well, we're well equipped now for the championship. I think we've said it a lot off camera, you know, we're saying that we're a lot more equipped this time to tackle the championship than we were last time.
I think that's it. I mean, one thing that does jump out at me there is Dylan Phillips got an own goal that game. So yeah, he's gone from the playoff final where he gets beaten by Naby Sarr, and then he starts off the season with an own goal. Like, that's considering you just said there he's the strongest keeper in the league. It's not the best start, but like players like Lapsley never really did what we thought he was going to do. Like I see him playing now. Yeah. I think we played him against Gillingham, didn't we? In the cup last year, and he still looks a good player. And Johnny Williams was one of my favourites just because of the work ethic he's got. But then if you look at the team we played, let me pop it up here. And I do not like this because it's not the formation. We know it's not.
No, it isn't. Yeah, they get this so wrong every time.
So frustrating. but that, in terms of players there, I mean, really, like when you're saying, so if you said Pratley, would you have him over Coventry or Doherty? I don't think he's good enough. Like, he's great and he was a good enforcer, but it's sort of this, and this is my problem. I'm going to jump all over the place. But when Dobson left, everyone was so disappointed because of how hard he worked. And that's what Pratley did. He worked really hard and wins the ball back. Coventry was all over Campbell on Saturday, all over him. He couldn't move. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, it was to the point where it was embarrassing, to a point where he actually ran straight into Bree in like the first 10 minutes. It looked like he'd taken him out completely. But Coventry did such a job on him that day. I'm really pleased to see him come good, because he started off with such a big problem on his back. And, you know, after that, like, Andy Scott's obviously the bloke who brings him in, and he's gone now. But he's a player that I really think the old kind of guard got right. I think the biggest difference for me, and I can't remember if we said this at the time when I spoke to you, but I think Coventry's ceiling was always going to be a lot higher than Dobson's. He might not have been straight away able to jump in and do the job that Dobson was doing, but I think it's been proven that Coventry to me, he wouldn't look out of place in the Prem, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, he come from a Prem team, didn't he? He come from West Ham, you know, and he had, I think he's slightly younger than Dobson. He come from that sort of higher profile. I think the problem that Coventry had when he first came in is that Dobson was still at the club, and the thing is, they're two very similar players. So we were so, you know, negatively set up when we tried to play both of them at the same time. That was the issue that we had. And Dobson was obviously phenomenal. He was one of my favourites, you know, and obviously, you know, we talk about Andy Scott, how he brought in Coventry, but he also lost us Dobson with the ludicrous contract offer that he offered him, which I'm still fuming about now. But in hindsight now, Coventry's come in, and you can definitely make the case to argue that he is an upgrade, because, as you say, I mean, I agree that he's got a high ceiling. 100% I agree he's got a high ceiling. I remember seeing a tweet from a West Ham fan actually saying, you know, they pulled apart his performance against Blackburn, and they were talking about how much of a mistake it was to let him go with the shit that's going on at West Ham at the moment. So, yeah, Coventry's, he's phenomenal. Arguably first name on the team sheet. Probably not even arguably. He probably is first name on the team sheet. The guy ain't put a foot wrong. I haven't seen a bad game from him probably since the start of last season. I'm being genuinely serious. He's been that good.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because you say first name on the team sheet, and I'm like, yeah, definitely. But actually, Jones is probably the first name on the team sheet. Actually, maybe Doherty being our captain. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? I can't fit that many names on first. But Doherty's another one where he brought him in, and I don't think anyone was sure of him. Not even until that it clicked, didn't it? It sort of clicked when Berry, Coventry, and Doherty started playing well together towards the end of last season. But I still don't think anyone gave Doherty the credit that he deserved. No. And it's sort of been taking a long time for everyone to go, actually, do you know what? He 100% needs to start. He was everywhere on Saturday again. Those two in that, it feels like the most balanced that midfield threes looked. And I think that's just because Carey's got a bit more legs than Berry's got. I think Carey does a bit more running than Berry did. And Berry's a great player. He's still there. I can't see him getting back into this team ever, because you look at what Nibs did when he came on. It was only the last 10 minutes, but the amount of strength he had and the amount of creativity he's got, I can't see how you'd ever pick Berry, what situation Berry would fit over those two, because for me the strike from Carey was unbelievable. I can't remember a better goal than that. That's the kind of goal that we used to get beaten by all the time, and you'd hold your hands up and go, you know what? We can't do anything about it. That is 100% what he did. So for me, this team looks like, I don't know. I can't. The only person I think you might swap, bringing it back to what I said before, might swap out of that team that we went up with, or the first team we played in the Championship, is mainly Kelman for Taylor, and I'm talking about prime Taylor, or when he was with us, because I don't know, man. 3.5 million. Forgive me, I'll never call you man again. That's stopping right now. But 3.5 million, and I can see that he's working hard. I can see that he's got a lot of ability, and we saw it last year for Leyton Orient. But I don't know. Every time him and Campbell came off on Saturday, and we just looked so much more direct and a lot stronger up front. And I get this argument. I will let you get a word in a minute, mate. I promise. But I get this argument that you let them two run around and wear them down and all that sort of thing. But if Alafe starts over Campbell again, I think there's serious questions, because he was so they were so strong.
Well, you just know it's going to happen, though. That's the thing, because Campbell's undroppable in a Jones side. That's the problem. You know, I think we've come to accept that now. But yeah, I mean, the Kelman one is a topic that's Charlton fans. You know, I've heard so many people talk about it, and you know, QPR pulled our pants down revenge for what we got for them with a Bon. But yeah, Kelman's a tough one, because he's come into a team that he's come into a system that he doesn't suit, in my opinion. You know, I mean, it was a question that was raised on the Chronicles as well. We're talking about it's like, why did Jones sign a player for that much money, knowing that he doesn't suit the system? So I don't know whether Jones has seen potential in Kelman for like, oh yeah, he can adapt to the way that we're playing. But I look at the way we play with Kelman. You know, we punt in balls long at Campbell and Kelman, and they're not those sort of strikers that can do that. You know, they can't latch onto those long balls and hold up the ball, and we also can't cross the ball in the box to Kelman either, because that's not his game either. And that's the problem that we find ourselves, because, I mean, the one thing that this formation, even though it is wrong with where the positions are, they are right in that TC drifts to the left, in that Kelman is then the lone striker and he's isolated and we don't give him the service. Whereas you bring on Leeburn and Tanto, we're a lot more direct. But if you look at the balls we were playing to them, we're playing the ball to their feet. And that's what we should be doing with Kelman. And in theory, we should be punting the ball long to Leeburn and Tanto, because they can hold up the ball, as Tanto showed, because he held the ball up and laid it off to Carey and he smashed it in at the near post. So it's a tough one. I mean, the price tag for Kelman, I said, was steep to begin with. 3.5 million. That was a steep price tag, especially for someone who's not proven at the Championship level. But I still have confidence in him. Like I think, I mean, you know, we have to say that he does work hard. You know, he doesn't. It's not as if he's not trying. He's putting in the effort. He's just joined the team that he needs to adapt to, and he's playing with a strike partner that he doesn't work well with. Campbell's not who he should be next to. For me, it should be Leeburn, it should be Tanto, and it could even be Matty Godden. You know, it's a point I've raised, because Kelman admires Godden, and probably Godden has taken him under his wing a little bit. So hopefully he's given him some sort of guidance. But I'm confident Kelman will come good. But the point you raised about Lyle Taylor, yeah, probably looking in hindsight, prime Lyle Taylor, the way he started that Championship season, because he was flying the first few games up until we got that injury. Yeah, in hindsight, you probably would put Taylor in that team. But looking at where Taylor's career is now, you'd have to say Kelman at this stage in his career has definitely got, you know, the higher ceiling, obviously, because he's like, 8 years younger. So he's got the potential. He signed a 4-year deal. He's going to be here for a long time. And I say we just got to back him. But there will come a point where he's got to get a goal in there. You know, when we can't pay 3.5 million to start him and he doesn't end up scoring goals, there will come a point where pressure will start to mount on him and he's got to score. And arguably that pressure's already there, because a lot of people are already talking about we should have signed Richard Kone over him.
He looks good, doesn't he? I mean, Kone does look good, and he looks good against us. But what can you do? He's here now, and for me, ultimately, you start Kelman. You're not playing a bad player, but you got Kelman, you got Godden, you got Leeburn, you got Tanto. You got 4 quality strikers with Tyrese, who plays up with them. Like, I don't know if Kone walks into that team. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anyone does. But let's go back a bit, because I wanted to. Like I said, I don't want to just focus on what's just gone. This is the first night and games that we played. This is 9 games into that season when we went up under Bowyer. And we know that season was all about the first couple of months. And I was looking at it going, well, why have we got that many less points now? Because we actually played 2 more games by this point, this time in the year, date-wise, if you know what I mean. But there's some good results there. And after that, it all sort of goes wonky and wrong.
Yeah.
What did you what was the biggest difference, do you think? What did, obviously you were covering this a lot on the channel at the time. Yeah. This is when you were kind of in your pomp and doing 1 or 2 videos a week. How were you feeling then? Can you remember? How do you feel differently? And also, how did you feel in the playoff finals? Because we haven't spoken much about that. Obviously, this is the first episode, so we're trying to go over old ground as much as we want. But for me, just before I go get your response, the biggest difference was in how boring the game was against Leyton Orient versus how exciting it was against Sunderland, because that's the biggest difference for me. I was sitting there going, I was obviously so relieved. It's the best feeling in the world, you win the playoff. But I was like, I don't quite feel how I did last time, and I knew you wouldn't have been there, but against Sunderland. But then I remembered that the game before against Sunderland, where we win 2-1 in the last minute, was probably it was the most ridiculous game. We let in a own goal within 5 minutes. That's ridiculous. And then you score late on. It's going to be exciting. Probably one of the most exciting games we had that season. And then the game before that against Sunderland, it's probably the best game of football that's ever been played ever by anyone. I had a very big argument about this with a couple of mates who are Palace fans. What are you talking about? But I genuinely, if you break it down as a game of football, that game 3-3 and then 4 in the extra time and then pens. I think that's got to be in top 10 of anyone's list of any game of football that's ever been played. Yeah, that has especially with how much is on the line. But so how do you sum it up in terms of looking at this sort of regime and this team versus when we were last up here? What do you think the main differences are?
I think there's a lot of differences, to be honest. I think back in 2019, I think back then we had to go up because we was under Du Châtelet. There was practically no funding in the club. The squad was as bare bones as it could have been. Bowyer spent no money that season, and the fact he got that team promoted. He had some unbelievable players. We were saying there, Leeburn, Cullen, Bielik was another one. Johnny Williams coming in January, Lyle Taylor, Patrick Bauer. There were some really good players on that side, and I was under the impression that we had to go up because if we didn't, then we'd run the risk of losing those players, and Bowyer could have been off. And obviously, at one point, he was off because the Châtelet announced he was gone, even though he hadn't actually spoken to him about a new contract. But I totally agree with you about that game, because that game was just completely, batshit mental. It had everything, that own goal, probably one of the worst own goals I've ever seen in football. To then turn it back around and scoring the goal in the manner that we did was just unbelievable. Whereas compare it to the last playoff final, as you said, the game was just complete and utter dross. It was the most boring game of football. But I think the reason why I think is because the two systems are very different. Bowyer played very fluid attacking football and he was very exciting football with some players that could do it. Whereas Jones, not to say that we don't play exciting football, because, to be fair, let's be honest, we don't. I don't think we play that with that sort of fluidity that we did under Bowyer, but I think we're a lot more organised under Jones. We're not the most entertaining of teams to watch play football because we're so defensively well organised and we play out from the back and all this stuff. And, we're not as offensive or as strong offensively, in my opinion, as we were under Bowyer, which seems a bit, considering the players we've got, but that's how I felt about the team at the time. But there's a lot of differences, I think, in terms of, the different regimes and the different systems. But just looking at this record here in those games, back in the Championship, back in 2019, I was under the impression covering it that we were punching above our weight, because we were up against it. We had very little money still, and the budget that Bowyer had to work with, the players that we were bringing in, and how they integrated them into the team, as you can see from this start to the season, it worked really well up until injuries come about, and suddenly we were playing our kids, and then that's what kind of sort of derailed us, and obviously other factors towards the end of the season with the ownership and Taylor refusing to play and all that stuff. But the start of the season was crucial for us this year, and we were punching above our weight. We got great results there. Beating Blackburn, Stoke is a great result. Drawing to Forest, we should have won that. Beating Brentford, who were, a title contender at the time. Beating Leeds at home, who ended up winning the league that year. Those are big results for us. So we were punching above our weight that season. Whereas this time, I do think that we are, as I said it earlier, we're a lot more equipped. for this level with the money that we spent. I mean, we had to spend the money that we did, because if we didn't, we'd be like, we wouldn't have had the start that we've had, in my opinion. But we look more well equipped. I mean, just look at the bench. The differences between the two benches of the two teams. You look at the bench that we've got now. Jones has got a selection headache with the players that he's got, because you can make a case for all of them getting in the squad. You know, it's a massive, massive headache, and that's what we didn't have last time in the Championship, because it was just kids. You know, it was a thin bone team. Once that got dismantled, you had the kids to rely on, who were probably not good enough for the National League back then. You know, so it was a massive difference back then. But I mean, I'm a lot more confident as we're in now, and I actually think, I don't know if I'm wrong with this, but if we beat Derby tonight, I think we will actually have an identical record to this here: 4 wins, 2 draws.
I think we need 2. I think we're on. You might be right. I might be wrong, but I've got it as we've played 7 games, and we need 6 points. So we got 11 games after 11 points after 7 games, and then we played 9 games and had 17 points. So we're 6 points off of it, basically. That's what I've got it as, but I think that maybe I've got that wrong. It might have been before, but yeah, that makes sense. I was just clicking around trying to find the difference, because you mentioned like not as exciting, but for me, I was watching the not Blackburn game. What was it? The Leicester game with a mate of mine who's my brother-in-law, who's a Newcastle fan. Obviously, Newcastle Champions League, he's got it all going on this year. He couldn't believe how good we were at winning the ball back in the middle of the park. And for me, that was so exciting. The amount of turnovers we had, the amount of times we won the ball back. It's a different kind of excitement. It's not, but it's, for me, that's such a buzz. Every player's on it, trying to win the ball back every opportunity they get. And I think that's the biggest difference for me, is that on the pitch, Bowyer's teams did work hard, but that diamond, like you said, it lends itself to be more attacking. Whereas we sort of we just built on this whole kind of intensity that is so engaging to watch for 90 minutes. Like at any point, you feel like something could happen. Someone's going to win the ball, and there's no slackers. And that's the big difference, I think, is that he's got rid of some players that we like, or maybe not he's got rid of them, but he's had some tough choices and left some players out. Like, how on earth is that player not getting in over them? But I don't think there's anyone there with any lack of intensity. And that's the only time I get a little bit disappointed with Campbell or Leeburn, is that they seem like the only players to me on the pitch that could give an extra 10%. Not so much Leeburn against Blackburn, but definitely in the previous game. I just felt like there's a couple of moments where he like gets bundled over and turned around, and he slips the ball out, and he manages to play Campbell in that last game. But you feel like he could do that all the time and just make that extra step. And there was a couple of times where Kelman looked like he could win a ball or go for a ball that he didn't go for. And I think that's what, as Charlton fans, we just want to see. Just every player giving. We know we're never going to have the best players in the world. Obviously, we're not.
Yeah, of course.
We pay the lowest wages. I mean, you look at in terms of the Châtelet. I think, if I'm right, I saw a stat earlier in the week that shows us to have the lowest wages in the league in comparison to every other team. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I'm pretty sure it's all right. To be fair, it sounds about right. So no, we definitely haven't spent the money in the transfer. We didn't spend the money in the transfer window last time. But for us to have a squad built on the lowest wages available in the league and to still be doing it, I don't think 3.5 million might be toppy. But if you're getting this many good players on this many good on that wages, that's pretty unbelievable. And it's a whole thing. As fans, you only really get reported to on the on what the signing fee is, but the wages play a big part of it. Getting rid of players like Chuck Snike, where loved him to pieces, thought he was brilliant for the 10 minutes he played a season, but that's a big bunch of wages that we needed to clear out. And it feels like so I say the biggest difference off the pitch is that you've actually got, for the first time ever, a board, a manager and a team that are lined up. All three of them are buying into each other. When Bowyer went up, it just was the team and the manager that were aligned, and the board just didn't have it. When when Nigel Pearson was in, Nigel Pearson, no,
Nigel Atkins,
Nigel Atkinson. Thank you, fact checker. I think that was just a case of no one's got it right here, and the same with Appleton as well. Like I did. I was, like I said, I was a bit hammered on Saturday, but I really did. Try and grill Curtis Fleming on you know, what was the difference? Was Mickey Apples as bad as he seemed? Like, what was? And he said not a bad word about anyone. He absolutely loved Jones, loves being at the club. And it's so great because like no real association as far as I'm aware before he came in. But you think like he's gone through 3 different managers, I think, and was manager himself for a little bit. Like that's the one thing that's stayed kind of stable. I'm not saying it's him that's come in and fixed it, but it definitely seems to be that backroom staff are well aligned and backing each other. And I said this to you in the pub at the Oak. I think for me, there's a lot of comparisons with Jones and Arteta. I watched that. I know, not just because of the line that Arteta's nicked off him about game changers, but I watched that the documentary about Arsenal, and he does some mental stuff. That guy, like he's got the light bulb. They're all holding hands, drawing breath, and like. I was just thinking, this is mental. But all those players you can see around, no one's giggling, no one's smirking. And you know that 100% that if one of them does, he's lost the dressing room, he's lost it completely. They all have to buy into it. And I think that's the same with Jones. Like he's got players in there that believe and will go with him. And he's had to get rid of all the ones that don't. And there's probably some stuff going on behind the scenes that there's people that have had to go out because they're not fully aligned with it. But for me, I couldn't give a shit if he could do the tactics in his own feces. Why use that? He could draw them on the wall with just scroll them. Do you know what I mean? And just add a formation. If that's what he thinks he needs to do it, mate, because it's working 100%. I think everyone now is fully behind Jones, and that's something we haven't had since Bowyer. Like an actual manager that's come in and everyone's really got behind. It wasn't a question, though, was there? But you know what I mean?
I can sort of feed off it. But yeah, you're completely right. I mean, it does feel like the club is just united under one. Like everything all together, it just feels together. You know, we look back to League One. You know, when we went down and under the likes of Adkins and Sangard being the owner, it just seemed all disjointed. You know, like the board, the manager, and the players, they just all seemed disconnected. Whereas now under this new ownership, who we've never actually met yet. Like Joshua Friedman, Gabriel Brenner, they've never actually done an interview, and I actually quite like that. They're just in the background. They've gone, right, here's your senior management team, here's your manager, how much money do you need for your team? Cool, here it is, go get it, sort it out, and we'll just be in the background, and we'll just sort of make sure things run smoothly. And that's I love that about it, because we've always had like, all talk, no action when it comes to the ownerships, countless times, under ESI and De Châtelet, and especially Sangard as well. But we haven't got that now. And as you say there with Jones, I mean, I can't imagine he's a easy manager to work under, because let's be honest, the geezer is a mental case. He's an absolute he's an absolute nutcase. But I love him for it. I love him.
He's our nutcase.
Exactly. Like he's that one manager, like you love him when he's manager for your club, but you hate him on the opposition. Like because his personality is quite strong, and we know that. But you just see that the team buy into what he wants to do. It's his way or the highway sort of thing. As you say there, with a couple of players he's had to get rid of, he's had to make those decisions, and he's brought in players that he knows will buy into what he wants to do, and he trusts a lot of players as well, and you can see that, and the players have fed off that, and there comes the confidence, and there comes the organisation on the pitch, because we look like a team regardless of who starts. We've seen Burke and Bree come into the team almost seamlessly when Apter and Ramsey were starting. So they've come in and suddenly it looks like, oh, wait a minute, they've been playing with us for like, it seems like a year now. It's all we're playing as a unit. We feel like a team, and that is what, as you're saying there, it's a different kind of excitement under than what we had under Bowyer, because it just feels like everything is connected, and we feel like a proper club again. And it's ridiculous to say that we're current. I know with the league table don't mean anything, but we're 7th. We're 2 points off top 2. We would have bit your hand off for that in the Championship to start this season. It's absolutely incredible. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where we can go with this, because it's just ridiculous. The turnaround is unreal.
It's been so quick, hasn't it? And just
I was
just fiddling around trying to get the subs in. I mean, that is what I mean. 100%. I reckon all those players would have lived and died for Bowyer, and would have done whatever they asked him to do, run through brick walls. But when you look at that bench, I mean, Solly, not a bad player. Obviously, Bond became good. Ben Amos on the bench. I've got no idea who number 40 is. Any ideas?
Brendan Wiredu. He plays for Plymouth now. He's he turned out fairly decent. He never really got a run in for us. He went to Colchester. Then he went to Fleetwood, became their captain, did really well for them, and now he's at Plymouth. So he's established League One player now. So he ended up coming good, just didn't really do it for us.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because you look at all them, Albie Morgan, Oshalaja, obviously Conor Gallagher's the exception.
Conor Gallagher, yeah.
None of those are players that you think they're 100% bang on championship standard. Not now that we've seen their careers play out a bit more, what they did. Maybe they had potential at some point, but in terms of like this bench that we had, let me grab it, the bench that we had on Saturday. I mean, it's unbelievable. The amount, I can't, like, we have got 2 players in every position. Like any of those, like to think that Gillespie scores that winner in the playoff final, then gets left out, and we're all like, yeah, do you know what? Even I'm guilty of saying, yeah, he had a couple of rickets in him. He gave the ball away a couple of times. I can understand it. You forget every one of his diagonal balls was a ball that is going to cause the defense problems. Like that is something that we haven't got when he's off the pitch. His massive head getting on the end of that ball. Like that's something we didn't know. I know Burke's he's tall and he's got lovely hair. And you have added height. Bree and Burke have definitely added height into that back line 100%. But there's not one player on that like every one of those. I can't say any of them. Rob Apter's come in as a youngster, not really like Blackpool weren't even that bothered to lose him really. He came on, he was player of the month. Like no one in that team looks out of place on the pitch at all. Like, and yet I for the first time, I with Jones, I'm just like, do you know what? We can talk about lineups as much as we want, what we think we should do. Just trust him. Just trust him to know exactly what he's going to do. Like, you can second guess him if you want, but really, he's the one who's making these decisions, and pretty much 90% of the time, he's getting them right. He doesn't always get it right though, and this is what I wanted to talk to you. So, I think we covered that in terms of the differences between this season and last season. We went up under Bo. I think we've done that. But what I did want to ask you about was the last time you did a video was the Stockport game. That's not the lineup. The lineup's this one. No, it's not. That's the final lineup. See, this is what I mean. This tech stuff will get worked out. Don't worry about it at all. I think it's this one here. Yeah, so this is the last lineup when you did your last video. And obviously it's not a million miles away from what we've got now. We've added a bit of, obviously we've added quite a few players in over the summer, but we've just talked about Gillespie. Mitchell at that point was really like, I thought was one of our best players, really holding it all together.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
But what I think definitely highlights a big change, and I want to talk about this new lad he's brought in, what's his name, Hernandez. He doesn't always get it right. Alan Campbell got to be one of the worst signings we ever made. Terrible.
Yeah,
absolutely awful. What do you? So I'm saying, on the one hand, we completely trust him, trust Jones to do whatever he needs to do, but he has made some bad signings, I'd say, and I fully believe that he's 100% in control of that. So that's one question. Do you think he's in charge of all the ins and outs now? Do you reckon he's in charge of who he's signing?
Well, I mean, considering the amount of Luton players he's signed over the past 2 years, I'd imagine that, yeah, because I mean, you think about it, Luke Berry, Alan Campbell, who was absolute dross, Dan Potts was another one who we signed that year, and then there's probably more I forgot about last season, but then looking at this season, Kaminsky, Amari Bell, Reece Burke, James Bree. There's someone else I can't think of as well. I know he signed someone else I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think he's definitely got a say in that. I mean, he's not. I mean, that's the thing with football. You're never going to get every single one right. Because certain circumstances, some players aren't going to fit the move and that sort of stuff. And Alan Campbell was just, I don't know what he was thinking about with that one. I mean, he's obviously brought in one of his players. You'd think that he'd do a job with a bit of championship experience, but he was, Looking at that team now, I mean, Alan Campbell, just not a good sign at all. But he
really stuck with him, didn't he? He did have a good amount of games.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it was really, really, really sort of strange. But I look at that team because I mean, I think at that point in the season we were just about to start a little bit of a decline in form. I think because we ended up, I think it was actually Lloyd Jones got injured around this period, and we had to change to a back four, and it just didn't work with the team that we had. I mean, looking at a few players in that team, I mean, Terry Taylor never really did it either. I know a lot of people were fans of Terry Taylor, but he was another player that never really stuck it. And then Mitchell began his decline. Alan Campbell I spoke about was not good enough at all. Godden was just starting to get into the swing of it as well, and Karoy Anderson was another one who I felt at that point wasn't really showing it as a starter, but he proved himself a lot better as someone coming off the bench. But yeah, I mean that's the thing with Jones's selection and transfers and that, you do have to trust him, because ultimately he's the one who's in charge and he's going to want the sort of way that he wants to play. He wants to play a certain way, and we've got to trust that. I mean, right now, if we're looking in the Championship, I mean, if he was to make changes to a team or play anyone, as we said there, on that bench, from Saturday, if he was to put any of them in the starting 11, I don't think anyone would argue with it, because that's how strong the team is now, and that's how good of an options he's got on board. But yeah, he's not going to get every single one right, and that's football. That's going to happen. And we've just got to trust the process and keep going with it. Mistakes are going to happen. It's just important that we don't get fickle and we don't get on his back like we did. Because it was a point last year where we were calling for his head. Well, I wasn't. Well, some of us were calling for his head, and that's what you mean. You've got to trust the process. It's
100. You're 100% right. I mean, the tricky thing is that I think he uses that to actually galvanize him. I think he actually, like he was still going on about that after we won the playoff final, like sort of, like in his own way, like you doubted me and I've done it right. But if I was for a minute, 100%, and I think Mourinho used to do that. It's us against the world, or like we all going to be together and we're going to prove everyone wrong. And I haven't got a problem with that at all. I'm really happy with that. But we did say about Alan Campbell, and obviously Hernandez has been signed yesterday. I want to ask you more about that.
Yeah.
But when you do look at his signings and you look at the most expensive signing this year has been Kelman.
Yeah.
Last year's most expensive player was Gassan. Is he just not very good with his money? Is it just as soon as, or do you think, is there something going on in the background where someone else is signing the players? Because I don't think it can be. I think it's got to be Jones's way or the highway. Like, if you're not on board, if you're not getting me players I want, I'm off. But someone's doing something, because weirdly the thing is that, and I think it's been said before, but if Gassan had been playing towards the end of the season, playing the system we were playing, like, he'd probably work in this team as well, because when Apter was whipping those balls in, Kelman is not the player to have there. 100% he's not. But it does seem like, my worry is, and this is going back to Campbell again, Tyrese Campbell, is that I don't have anything against Tyrese Campbell. I think he's a great player. I think he's a brilliant product to the academy. He's showing that that's still working, and he's come good. He's still one of the best players at passing a man, getting past his man. But for me, I just don't think he is good enough to be starting, in the most attacking position on a pitch for a championship team that, could we say, is going to be pushing for playoffs. I don't think he's got that quality yet. I don't think he's got the decision making. And when you look at Alafe, I don't think he's got the focal point of his attack. I don't think he's as cutting. I don't think he's as direct as Alafe is. So that for me is the bigger question. It's like 100% trust Jones to know exactly what he's doing. But could we be better? Could we, or is that asking too much, do you think, as a Charlton fan that's been in League One for 4 or 5 years? Like, am I just asking too much, do you think?
I mean, we're enjoying the start that we've had. I mean, as I said, we'll bit your hand off for the start we've had at the moment. But, I think besides the Blackburn game that's just happened, I mean, the strikers are not, I mean, even the Blackburn game, we scored 3 goals, but none of the strikers scored. So that is like one. There's been one goal all season that's come from a striker, and that was Alafe off the bench against Sheffield United. So that shows that offensively, in terms of the attack, the strikers, they can be better. And it's kind of a common denominator that's been a problem. You say there, our most expensive signing was Gassan, and then this season it's Charlie, and we're having the same sort of problem with both of them, really. The issue that I have with Gassan is that we did actually, on occasion, it wasn't often, but on occasion, we were giving him the service and were giving him the chances. He just couldn't stick it away because he lost confidence. That was why. He didn't have any confidence. And for me, it's no coincidence that he's gone on loan to Stevenage and he's starting to score goals. And hopefully that'll give him a sort of kick up the backside, and he comes back to us in the summer and we can reassess and see what goes on from there. But it's the same sort of situation with Kelman. And I do agree with Campbell as well. I said it at the start of the season. I was like, okay, he had a good season by his standards last year. He ended really strong. But then after he got a little bit of a niggle in the playoffs, he was non-existent. And it's been sort of the same thing since stepping up to the Championship. He's had some good games, because I think
I'd say moments.
Yeah, I agree. I think, because what we always say is he can pick up the ball, he can drive forward, and he can look to create something. He looks exciting, and it's like, oh, here we go. This is the TC we know. But it's then what happens after that, you know, because I think he has got an assist for the actor goal against QPR, but that was the first and probably only time I've actually seen him put a ball in the box. He's quite greedy as well, I noticed. You know, he likes to cut inside and have a shot on his right foot. He should have scored, to be fair, against Blackburn. Great effort, remembering that game. But yeah, it's a tough one with TC, I think. You know, I think he's I do. I've questioned his quality, whether he is good enough, whether the Championship is a bit of a step too far for him. But I do think he can offer something different. For me, I think he'd be better off the bench, because I think, you know, once the defence is worn out, he can then offer something different. If you get the ball to his feet, 100%. Take them on, cut inside, then the defence has got all sorts of problems to deal with, because we know what he can do from his time last season. But the fact that Olafe is not starting, considering the start he's had and how good he's been for us, is, for me, it's ridiculous for me. I think he should be putting him next to Kelman, or trying Leeburn next to him, because Leeburn and Tanto look like they've been playing with each other for years. They feed off each other so well.
So good. And that's the response it always gets. It's great to have Campbell and Kelman wearing them down, and then you've got these two big lumps to come on and really push. But why not have the other way around? Why not try it the other way around, at least, where you've got them, the big lumps, battering them all game, and then Tyrese comes on, and when they're knackered, he actually just nips around them. They've lost that half a yard of pace that's going, because that run and the shot that he had against Blackburn, where he takes the run down the left and cuts in on his right foot and tries to curl it in that far right corner. I think that's what we want him to do. I think that's what he's been working on. I think I saw Jones say that in a post-match interview, like, that's what we want to get him to do. I've seen him score one of those. And I think I've only seen him take 2 or 3 shots. Like, he just doesn't do it enough. If that's what you're working on, he needs to be doing that once a game at least. Like, he's clearly that's the dream, is to get him in that position. And I think he gets on the ball enough to be able to do it.
Absolutely.
But that does lead us on to Hernandez, though. What do you reckon? Because for me, when I heard that we missed out on Fofana, I think I took it a bit harder than everyone else, because for me, like, that seemed like such a good signing. It really seemed like pressure on Campbell. Suddenly he's got someone he's got to compete against, playing that same sort of left-sided attacking position. Someone who's actually maybe got more pedigree because he's come from a Prem team. So he's actually got someone to push him. And that's when I think we saw the best of Campbell, when Raksaki was playing in that same position. He was really pushing him on. So I took that quite bad. But Hernandez looks to be a similar style of player. You probably know more about him than I do. What do you reckon on him?
I mean, quickly touching on Fofana, I was quite gutted when we lost out on him, because it wasn't so long ago where he was scoring goals in a Burnley side that were absolutely shit in the Premier League. You know, he looked like an exciting young talent. And I mean, looking at the squad numbers in terms of our attacking options, you know, bringing in a 6th option seems a bit like, oh, what are we doing here? Do we need a 6th striker? But then when you actually deal a bit deeper, you could see that Fofana would have actually offered something a lot different. So missing out on him was a bit of a kick in the dick. But Hernandez,
we've got our catchphrase. We've got our catchphrase. Yeah,
makes sense that this is called Addicted, isn't it? But yeah,
lovely bit of business. Lovely bit of business. Well done.
Sidetrack now. Where am I? Hernandez. Hernandez. I don't know what role he's going to end up playing, because I think, you know, I remember him more from his time at Norwich, and he was there for a long time. He was there for 7 odd years. Got a lot of experience. I think he's predominantly a winger, so I'm not entirely sure where he's going to fit in this system, whether he is going to play up front, whether he's potentially going to play left wing back, maybe, with Edwards getting an injury. I don't know how serious Edwards' injury is. We don't know yet, but I think a part of me was like, Hernandez has come in. Oh, Edwards is going to be out for a while then. With that, well, speaking into existence, I don't know whether that's true or not. But yeah, I don't really know where Hernandez is going to fit in this system. But I think that's what excites me, because I think it's something different. You know, I think Jones said after we signed him, you know, it was another option out wide, you know, because we've already got TC, we've got Actor, and we've got Fuller, who's coming through the ranks as well, and he looks a talent as well. So I think for Hernandez, I mean, he offers a lot of Championship experience, which is a plus straight away. You know, we love it. We need that bit of experience at this level, and he offers something different. But I'm intrigued as to what role he's going to play and what sort of impact he's going to have on this team in such a short space of time, because he's only here till January, and we don't know whether he's going to stay beyond then. But I'm happy with the experience that he brings, and you know, he seems technically gifted. You know, he seems very passionate. If you've watched his YouTube videos, I'm very excited to see him play against Ipswich, because he seems like he wants to smash the shit out of Marcelino Nunes. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that if he does get on the pitch. But yeah, I'm happy with the signing. But as I said, I'm more intrigued as to what sort of role he plays, because I'm not entirely sure where he fits being a winger and we play a back five.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be an interesting one. Or maybe it's just a case of when BLACKBURN and Alafe do come on, if that's still the way they're going to do it, maybe that's when you want someone like Apter and Hernandez coming on to actually push up on the side. And maybe it's a case of you've got two systems to play in a game. You get so many subs now, don't you, that why not try and play it like that? Mate, I've really enjoyed this. What do you think? First episode, how do you feel about it?
I think it's gone really well. I think, I mean, we were saying how the ideas we've got for this and how well we've enjoyed it and that, and yeah, I think this has definitely got the potential to grow somewhere, and hopefully the boys can keep putting in the results, or even if they don't, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of fun to be had. I think it'd be funny for us, when we lose games, to see how that goes. But not hoping we lose games, but of course. But yeah, enjoyed it a lot, and it's really glad to. Thanks for kicking me back into the swing of things with YouTube again.
This is it. So everyone watching, I'm talking to Tyler's subscribers now. If you have got. My job now is just basically to force Tyler down and get him back on it. Just do something. We need to do it. So, any questions that you want us to talk about? Anything that you think we missed out on? Any stupid mistakes we've made, or any good things that you've enjoyed? Please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Obviously, you're subscribed. I'm sure you subscribed already. If you haven't, please like the video. Give us a subscribe. It'd be great to get some feedback, and hopefully, you can grow with us as well. Like I said, the aim is to get this. Done in a live setting somewhere, do it hopefully in a pub. Be nice to see what they're like. I've heard pubs are good. I've quite like
nice establishments.
But yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, love to hear your feedback, and thank you so much. Might even have a couple of regular features, but we've got our catchphrase in the first episode: kicking in the dick, or
kick him in the dick. Kicking the dick.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on the first episode of Addicted, and we'll see you again very shortly.
Take care, guys.